Hello and welcome to the 2022 Ohio High School Athletic Association's online Rules of Golf presentation and quiz. My name is Danielle Nicholson and I am the Foundation Operations Manager here at the Northern Ohio PGA. I'll be your host during the presentation along with Matt Rutland, Director of Competitions. We hope that through this presentation you gain a better understanding of some of the rules that you as coaches are most likely going to run into on the course. However, you should know that the rules of golf are extremely complex and lengthy, so this is really just an overview of more of the general rules of golf.
In order to apply the rules of golf, you must first determine which area of the golf course the golf ball lies in. There are 5 areas of the golf course and where the golf ball could possibly be. Number 1, the teeing area. Number 2, a bunker. Number 3, a penalty area. Number 4, the putting green. And all other areas are considered the general area. There are obviously different rules that apply for a golf ball that lies in a bunker or in a penalty area, which we'll cover at a later point in time. There are also different rules that apply to a golf ball that lies on the putting green, but that only applies to the putting green of the hole currently being played. And there are also rules that apply in the teeing area, but also only on the hole that is currently being played.
Now that you're familiar with some of the defined areas of the course, let's take a look at some more definitions. Abnormal course conditions include animal holes, ground under repair, immovable obstructions, and temporary water. We'll go into a little more detail in a few slides on how to take relief from these abnormal course conditions should you or one of your players find yourself in that situation. You cannot lose a ball in an abnormal course condition. For example, if there is an area marked ground under repair and a player hits their ball into the ground under repair and the group is virtually certain that the ball is in that area, but the ball is not found, the player can take relief without penalty, estimating the spot that ball would be. Boundary objects. Boundary objects are artificial objects defining or showing out of bounds, such as walls, fences, stakes, or railings from which free relief is not allowed. This includes any base and post to a boundary fence, but does not include any angled supports or guy wires that are attached to a wall or fence, or any steps, bridges, or similar construction used for getting over the wall or fence. Boundary objects are treated as immovable even if they are movable or any part of them is movable, such as a gate. Embedded balls. If your ball is embedded in the ground in its own pitch mark anywhere on the course except in a bunker or a penalty area, you get free relief. Your ball must be found to take free relief. In a few slides, we'll discuss how to take relief from an embedded ball. Provisional balls. A provisional ball is a ball played in the case that a ball just played may be out of bounds or lost outside of a penalty area. It is important to note that you cannot lose a ball inside of a penalty area. For example, a player who has never played a course hits a shot into fescue grass on the left side of a hole. Unable to tell whether the area is penalty area or out of bounds, the player hits a provisional ball. Once the player gets up to the area and sees that the ball is in the red penalty area, the provisional ball is out of play. The player may continue under red penalty relief. Please encourage your players to hit provisional balls if they think that their ball is lost outside of a penalty area or is out of bounds to help with pace of play. Moving on to immovable obstructions. A sprinkler head or a cart path would be considered immovable obstructions. These cannot be moved without unreasonable effort or without damaging the obstruction or the course. We'll talk about taking relief from immovable obstructions a little bit later when we come back to abnormal course conditions. Movable obstructions. Examples of movable obstructions would be a rake or a towel lying on the course. If a player's ball moves while he or she is removing a movable obstruction, there is no penalty and the ball must be replaced on its original spot, which if not known must be estimated. For example, a player is in a bunker and their ball is lying against a rake. The player attempts to move the rake and the ball moves. The player gets no penalty and must replace the ball on its original spot. If the ball is on a slope in the bunker and the ball will not stay on its original spot, the ball should be placed as near to the original spot as possible, no closer to the hole. Loose impediments. Any unattached natural object such as stones, loose grass, leaves, branches, sticks, dead animals and animal waste, worms, insects, and similar animals and the mounds and webs that they build are all considered loose impediments. Natural objects are not loose if they are attached or growing, solidly embedded in the ground, or sticking to the ball. Sand and loose soil are not considered loose impediments. In addition, dew, frost, and water are also not loose impediments. A couple things to note. A player must not deliberately remove a loose impediment that, if moved when the ball was at rest, would have been likely to have caused the ball to move. So what does that mean? For example, Sarah's ball is just off the green, but it is directly in between Paula's ball and the flagstick. Paula asks Sarah to mark her golf ball, and Sarah complies, but picks up a leaf that was under the ball's original location. If Sarah does not recreate the lie with the leaf under the golf ball, she gets a one-stroke penalty, but the removed loose impediment does not have to be replaced. Now, if a player's removal of a loose impediment causes his or her ball to move, the ball must be replaced on its original spot, and if the moved ball had been at rest anywhere except on the putting green or the teeing area, the player gets a one-stroke penalty. There are a couple exceptions. For example, John finds his ball lying on some pine needles in the general area. Understanding that pine needles are loose impediments, John begins removing them, but his golf ball moves in the process. John must replace the golf ball on its original spot and receives a one-stroke penalty.
Each round of golf is typically assigned a starting time. You must start at and not before your starting time. It is the player's job to make sure that they are at the starting hole on time and ready to play. We recommend that players get to the tee 10 minutes early so they don't have to rush around and the starter has ample time to give them scorecards and to get the group started on time. If a player is not on the tee and ready to play when the clock strikes their starting time, they're considered late to the tee. The penalty for being late to the tee is a two-stroke penalty to be applied to the first hole. If a player begins play no more than 5 minutes late, they can have that two-stroke penalty. If a player is not ready within 5 minutes past their tee time, the player will be disqualified from the event. Player may only have 14 clubs before they begin play. If they have an extra wedge or an extra driver in their bag that they do not intend to use, they can either tell their opponent that they do not intend to use that club or simply turn the club upside down in their bag to indicate that it is out of play. This may be one of the most important slides in the presentation. The rules of golf allow us to promote a prompt pace of play. Whenever you're on the way to a facility or at the facility, we encourage your teams to do the same. A prompt pace of play means we can encourage ready golf, where players do not have to play by honors. When players get to their ball, if they're ready and play will allow, they're encouraged to play, to keep play moving. There are other things that have been allowed by the rules of golf to help promote a prompt pace of play, such as the search time for a lost ball is now 3 minutes. Players can putt with the flagstick in the hole. Some events have an optional local rule for stroke and distance, which will allow the player to drop into the fairway instead of going back to the tee for a 2-shot penalty. And there's also the ability to have a maximum score stroke play format. All of these should allow us to promote a more prompt pace of play. Rule 6.3b covers substituted ball. A player must hole out with the ball played from the teeing ground unless that ball is lost, out of bounds, or the player substitutes another ball. Substitution is allowed when the ball in play is lost, out of bounds, in a penalty area, or deemed unplayable by the player. Also, if a player substitutes a ball when the rules of golf does not permit the ball to be replaced, the substituted ball becomes the ball in play. If this mistake is not corrected and the player makes a stroke at an incorrectly substituted ball, the player will incur a penalty of 2 strokes in stroke play and must play out the hole with the incorrectly substituted ball. An example of an incorrectly substituted ball would be when a player marks his ball on the putting green and puts that ball in his pocket and then replaces it with a different ball and continues to play. Rule 6.3c covers a wrong ball. A wrong ball is any ball other than the player's ball in play, provisional ball, or a second ball played under Rule 6.3. Examples could include another player's ball in play, an abandoned golf ball, the player's original ball when it's no longer in play. Strokes made by a competitor with the wrong ball do not count towards the score. In stroke play, the player will be assessed 2-stroke penalty and must correct the error before it begins play on the next hole. If a player makes a stroke on the next hole without correcting the error of playing a wrong ball, the player will be disqualified. If the wrong ball belongs to another player, the ball must be placed on the spot where the wrong ball was first played. There's no penalty if the stroke was made at a wrong ball if it happens to be in moving water in a penalty area. Rule 10.2 covers advice and help with alignment. Your caddy or partner or coach or teammate are not allowed to stand on or close to a line behind your ball while you're taking your stance and until your next stroke is made. If a player begins to take their stance with a caddy or a partner or a teammate behind them, they can back away and start over without penalty. During a round, a player must not give advice to anyone in the competition who is playing the course. They must not ask anyone for advice other than the player's coach. They must not touch another player's equipment to learn information that could be advice. This does not apply before a round or while play is stopped or between rounds of a competition. So this means your players must not signal each other to which club they hit off the tee. They can't look into another player's bag and touch their equipment to find out what club they hit on a par 3. Just remember that you cannot stand behind your players as they're taking their stance during a round. Rule 11.1 covers accidental deflections. A new rule in 2019, if your golf ball is accidentally deflected by you, your partner, your caddy, your equipment, or if you accidentally double hit it, there's no penalty. Generally, you will play your golf ball from where it comes to rest, but there are a few exceptions. If the player's ball in motion hits another ball at rest on the putting green, and both balls were on the putting green before the stroke was made, the player gets a penalty of 2 strokes. When a ball played from anywhere except on the putting green comes to rest on any person, animal, or moving outside influence, the player must not play the ball as it lies and must take relief right under where the ball first came to rest on the outside influence. The third exception, if a player's ball played from a putting green accidentally hits any person, animal, or movable obstruction, including another player's ball on the putting green, the stroke does not count, and the original ball or another ball must be replaced in the original spot, which if not known must be estimated. Rule 12 discusses playing out of bunkers. Remember, a bunker is one of the 5 parts of the golf course that we discussed in one of the first beginning slides. If your ball's in a bunker, there are some things that you can do now that you couldn't do prior to 2019. You can touch and move loose impediments such as rocks and leaves and sticks in a bunker. But be careful, don't move your ball when doing so, or you may get a penalty of 1 stroke. You cannot touch the sand with your club next to your ball during the backswing or when addressing the golf ball. You can also not touch the sand anywhere to test its condition when making a practice swing. Let's take a moment to talk about some of the relaxed requirements and reduced penalties that changes in 2019 provided. Some of the things on the putting green that are allowed are repair of any damage on the putting green, and this does include spike marks or ball marks or old cups. All of that damage is repairable. You can also touch the line of play on the putting green. Any accidental movement of your ball, there's no penalty. You can just replace and play away. After lifting and replacing, if your ball moves, you can replace it again. And a ball resting against the flag stick is considered hold, as long as the golf ball is not still moving. Other things that we just covered as well is in the bunkers, loose impediments may be removed without penalty. Continuing with relaxed requirements and reduced penalties. Before lifting a golf ball, marking is still required, but announcement is not. Search situations such as to identify it, to check to see if it has cuts or cracks, to determine if free relief is available, such as an embedded ball or an abnormal ground condition or movable obstruction. Announcement is not required, although we recommend for you to announce to all your fellow competitors that you are going to lift the golf ball for any of these reasons. Rule 16.1 covers relief from cart paths, immovable obstructions, wrong putting greens, and abnormal ground conditions. So what does it mean to determine your nearest point of relief? Throughout the course of a round, you'll have to take relief from immovable obstructions such as cart paths. You may have to take relief from an abnormal ground condition such as ground under repair, or maybe your golf ball may even lie on the wrong putting green where you must take relief. The nearest point of relief is the point on the course nearest to where the ball lies that is not nearer the hole and is not in interference by the condition from which the relief is sought out. In other words, you cannot drop the ball closer to the hole, and you must take relief from whatever you're taking relief from. So if you have interference from a cart path, you determine your nearest point of relief and take your relief. And if you still have an obstruction to the cart path, if you still have obstruction by the cart path, then you must take relief again, getting full relief from the cart path. Remember, all the drops that we take should be from knee height. Rule 16.1 covers abnormal course conditions inside of a bunker. When there's an abnormal course condition inside of a bunker, free relief may be given, but the golf ball must remain in the bunker. Take a look at this diagram. If there's no relief area inside of the bunker that will give you full relief from the abnormal course condition, relief can be taken outside of the bunker, keeping the spot from where the original ball lay in between your new reference point and the flag, and the golf ball can be dropped inside of the relief area for a penalty of 1 stroke. Rule 16.3 covers relief from an embedded ball. A ball is embedded when part of the ball is embedded in its own pitch mark and is below the level of the ground. See the first picture in the top left corner. The second picture also shows an embedded ball. Despite the fact that the golf ball is not touching the soil, part of the golf ball is embedded in its own pitch mark, which is below the surface of the ground. In the third picture, this golf ball, even though it's sitting down in the grass, is not an embedded ball, and therefore relief is not available, because no part of the golf ball is below the level of the ground. The way I like to think about it is the golf ball is embedded if it's in the general area and it has broken the surface of the earth. To take relief, you must first determine your relief area. Your relief area begins at a spot right behind the golf ball and is 1 club length in either direction, no closer to the hole. Your embedded ball can then be lifted and cleaned and dropped into the relief area, and play can continue with no penalty. Rule 17.1 covers options when taking relief from penalty areas. There are 2 types of penalty areas: red penalty areas and yellow penalty areas. When taking relief from the penalty areas, for both red and yellow, you have the option to act under stroke and distance and go back to where your previous spot was made under penalty of 1 stroke and proceed playing. You could use the back on line relief procedure under penalty of 1 stroke, keeping the point where your golf ball last crossed the margin of the penalty area in line with you and the flag, and going back on that line and dropping into the relief area under penalty of 1 stroke. Or if your golf ball is in a red penalty area, you have an extra option. You can use the spot where the golf ball last crossed the edge of the penalty area, and you can use 2 club lengths, no closer to the hole, to determine a relief area outside of the penalty area, drop under penalty of 1 stroke, and play away. These 2 diagrams are a great way to visually see the options for the players should they hit it in a yellow penalty area or a red penalty area. The left-hand diagram are your yellow penalty area relief options. If a player hits it into the yellow penalty area, they can go back to reference point number 1 in that relief area under penalty of 1 stroke and play again. That's the stroke and distance relief. Or they can take the back on line relief, option 2, and go back on that line as far as they want, dropping the ball into the relief area and playing, also under a penalty of 1 stroke. The right-hand diagram is the red penalty area relief options, which are the same first 2 options as the yellow penalty area, number 1 being stroke and distance, number 2 being back on line relief. The red penalty areas also have a third option, which is 2 club lengths from where the golf ball last crossed the margin of the penalty area, no closer to the hole to determine a relief area, dropping a ball under penalty of 1 stroke, and playing away. Some new changes in the revision of 2019 can include some actions that are allowed in the penalty area. Actions such as grounding your club, taking practice swings, touching water, removing loose impediments. You can take your golf bag into a penalty area. All those things are allowed. Basically, you can do anything you can do in the general area inside of a penalty area, except have embedded ball relief, and it also gives you the option to get out of the penalty area without having to play the ball but incurring a stroke of 1 penalty. Rule 18 covers out of bounds or lost balls. As we stated previously, you have 3 minutes to search for your golf ball before it comes lost. Search times begin when a player reaches the point where the golf ball would most likely be. At the end of that 3-minute time, the golf ball is considered lost and the player must operate under the stroke and distance penalty and return to the previous spot from where they last hit a shot. If your golf ball is lost in the penalty area, which must be known or virtually certain that the golf ball is in the penalty area, you can act under the penalty area relief options. If a golf ball is out of bounds, the golf ball is only out of bounds when all of the golf ball lies out of bounds. On the diagram here is a good example of what golf ball is in bounds and what golf ball is out of bounds. When a line is present, the line itself is out of bounds. Therefore, if any of the golf ball is touching the golf course, it is in bounds. If there is no line present, it is the inside edge of the stakes at ground level that will determine whether a golf ball is inbound or out of bounds. For both lost ball and out of bounds, the only option are stroke and distance penalties. If a player feels his golf ball may be lost out of bounds or lost in general, those players may always play a provisional ball to help keep that prompt pace of play. Rule 19.1 and 19.2 take an unplayable relief. Only the player can determine if a golf ball is unplayable. If a player determines they cannot play a golf ball and the golf ball is unplayable, for a penalty of 1 stroke, there are 3 possible scenarios. You can always go back under stroke and distance and play from the previous spot with a penalty of 1 stroke. You can use the reference point from where the golf ball lies that is unplayable, and you can go back on line as far as you would like and drop under penalty of 1 stroke. Or you can get 2 club lengths from the reference point directly from below where the golf ball is unplayable. 2 club lengths, no closer to the hole in any direction, and you can drop a golf ball under penalty of 1 stroke and play away. You can declare a golf ball unplayable anywhere on the golf course except in a penalty area. Taking an unplayable in a bunker. There are options for golf balls that become unplayable in a bunker. The same options apply as a normal unplayable ball. As you see in the diagram, the 3 options are stroke and distance penalty for a penalty of 1 stroke. The second option is your back on line relief for a penalty of 1 stroke. And the third option is the 2 club lengths no closer to the hole in any direction for a penalty of 1 stroke. With the new revisions for 2019, there's a 4th option that is available for an unplayable ball in a bunker. Player may determine to take the golf ball out of the bunker with the same back on line relief, but must pay a penalty of 2 strokes to remove the golf ball out of the bunker. A couple miscellaneous items we feel that it's important to cover. A ball moved during a search process. If you move your ball or any player's ball during a search, there is no penalty. Just replace the ball back to its original spot, which if it's not known, should be estimated to the best of your ability. Another interesting miscellaneous item, once your golf ball is on the putting green and you have marked and lifted the golf ball, if you replace the ball and that golf ball moves, whether it be through natural forces or wind or gravity, you can replace the golf ball to its original spot with no penalty. Essentially, once you reach the putting green and you mark and lift your golf ball, you own that spot until you play off of it. A few other miscellaneous items. The simplified dropping procedures. Players must drop the ball from knee height straight down without any throwing or spinning. The drop must not hit the player or the player's equipment before hitting the relief area. The ball must hit in the relief area. And when determining the relief area, club length indicates the player's longest club other than the putter in the bag, which is typically the driver.
Now we have a few short quiz questions to test your knowledge. There are 2 slides of 5 questions each for a total of 10 questions. Feel free to pause the presentation as you work through each question. The answers will follow these 2 slides.
Thank you for taking time to listen to today's presentation. We hope that you possibly learned a few things that you can take back to your teams. But as we said at the beginning of this presentation, the rules of golf are extremely complex, and people spend years trying to learn them and still not get all the answers correct. Hopefully we'll leave you today with a little bit more knowledge than you had when you first arrived, and some basic understanding of the basic rules you're most likely to come across on your everyday play. With that being said, if you find yourself on the golf course without a rules official and you have a question, please do not hesitate to reach out to me, Matt Rutland, at the Northern Ohio PGA Section Office, and I will do my best to get your questions answered as quickly as we can. Thanks, happy golfing, and have a great day.